Hello, everybody, and welcome to this course on wireless penetration testing. A quick introduction: my name is AK Alexander, and I'm a security researcher, a senior penetration tester at Olotu Square Tech Innovation Hub, and I'm a penetration tester. What I mean by penetration tester is we hack into companies and organizations, but with the aim of reinforcing security and with your permission. So it's actually a good thing. And I'm a gamer, and I decided that I'll be giving back to the community in the way I know how. Well, uh, with appreciation to my boss, Bruce Lucas, and Heath Adams, the CEO of TCM, because these were the people that motivated me to thrive in this field and give back to the community, because this far I really owe them a lot. So I'll be giving back to the community in the best way I know how. So I decided to start with giving out video tutorials on some stuffs, trying to simplify them. And today we'll be doing a walkthrough on wireless penetration testing. That means that brings us to the question of what wireless penetration testing is. So, a wireless pen test is a penetration testing assessment for wireless devices, which includes exploiting known wireless vulnerabilities in wireless networks and devices using known tools and techniques with the aim of reinforcing them. Like I told you, it's penetration testing. We do it with the main aim of reinforcing securities. We search for vulnerabilities. We are searching for vulnerabilities so we can patch them up, so those vulnerabilities don't have to exist anymore, so you don't have to worry about them. So we're actually the good guys, so we're really doing a good job. So and a lot of companies actually have wireless networks, so it's advisable you actually do a wireless pen test, and that's what I'll be walking you through: what you should look out for, what you should get to understand. Though it's not going to be a deep dive, but it is going to be worth your time, because we're going to explain some concepts, and I'll try to make it as easy to understand as possible, because that's the main aim of this course, that even someone with little or no knowledge should be able to understand and should be able to carry out the test. So that brings us to our next slide. So we'll be looking at wireless security protocols, and you might actually be conversant with a lot of these stuffs. I know you see the WPA2, it's quite popular, the WPA2 PSK. So we've actually come a long way. You can see the WEP. That was one of the first standards for wireless security protocols, and it's actually not being used now. I really can't imagine seeing a company, though I know there are people, it would really be older devices that would actually be using the WEP, but there are actually people using those devices. I really can't say. Maybe people who don't just want to evolve, so it's not really like a bad thing, but maybe, just maybe, they're still backwards. So we have the WPA. And even the WPA is quite old, because 2.3, it's been years, as in years. And Wi-Fi security protocols have really come a long way, far beyond WPA. And when I talk about Wi-Fi wireless security protocols, I'm talking about security standards for wireless networks. So we have the Wi-Fi protected 2, which is WPA2, and it's a way better Wi-Fi security standard. Why I actually say it's better is because the encryption algorithm, the algorithm it uses to secure your data. When I mean encryption, I mean it scrambles your data, because the internet and networks is really an open place. You get, it's really an open space that information floats, literally floats. Anybody can actually have access to your information, can actually pick your information. It's that open, and a lot of people really don't know this. You actually feel it's covered, nobody can just have access, but it's really open. You can imagine Just when I say video open, I really want you to just think of you making a call and imagine your phone sending your voice over the air. It's really like that, and it's going out to whoever you're making the call to. It's that open. Someone can actually eavesdrop on your conversation. So that's how it is for wireless networks. Well, your communications here are actually open. And what I mean by protocols, whenever you hear me say wireless security protocols, protocols are a laid down set of standard, laid down set of rules that, if all parties agree to it, allow for easy communication, easy and efficient communication. So the wireless security protocols are security standards or set of rules that have been laid down that, if all parties agree to it, yes, communication is done successfully and effectively. And WPA2 is actually one of those standards or security protocols, and it actually helps to secure, because like I said, it's an open space, so it actually helps to secure. So if you're going to be transmitting using a wireless network and you're going to be transmitting using WPA2, it means to a fault your data is actually encrypted using that algorithm. That's one of the rules that it states. Though there might be other rules, or there are other rules, but this is the one I'm talking about. And we also have the WPA3, which is also way advanced than the WPA2. But why I'll be looking at the WPA2 today is because a lot of companies are still using it, it's still widely used, and WPA3 is just being adopted, recently adopted. It's just being taken into, though it's way advanced and way more secure, has a lot of upgrades. It's actually new, so actually has a lot of upgrades than the WPA2. And each of these wireless security protocols actually have a personal and a kind of industry enterprise, I'll call it. So a personal and an enterprise. You might have heard of WPA2 PSK and WPA2 enterprise. So the PSK is a personal use, and the enterprise is what large organizations actually use. So you can see how much you need to take it into consideration, because if large organizations are actually using it, then trust me, hackers are also interested. So if somebody is using it and somebody is paying big cash on it, hackers are always interested. And when I say hackers, not me actually, I'm actually a good guy. And the hackers we're talking about are people, the black hat hackers, people who want your information, who want your money, and who want anything they can get out of you. So WPA2 is still widely used. That you might actually see it on your mobile phone, and that's actually the security protocol used on your mobile phone. But a lot of new mobile phones now are switching over to WPA3, which is a good thing. At least they now know security is really important. So that takes us to our next slide. Now, in the Pentest, wireless Pentest assessment, what would you be looking out for? So in a wireless Pentest assessment, someone like me, I would actually want to do a ward driving. And what I mean by a ward driving is actually to identify rogue access points around. It's kind of like you go out with a GPS, just walk around with a GPS, get to know new access points around, and basically rogue access point, as it says, that's what it means. Now, the second you'd look out for in a wireless assessment is password cracking. Is your password easy to crack? Is your encryption algorithm easy to crack? Can your wireless network actually, is it secure from brute forcing? These are stuff you take into consideration, because these are what hackers would do on a day-to-day. If I was if I was a black hat hacker and I come to an organization, I would actually try to break into your network and brute forcing, look for a way to inject something, just find a way, any way. So password cracking is really, really important. Take it into consideration. That's what I'll look at when I come for a wireless assessment. Though, because I'll be doing a kind of like, I'll be looking at the personal protocols like WPA2. I'll look at the personal instead of the enterprise. But in later courses, I'll look at the enterprise. But for today, I'll look at the personal. So we might not really look at much a large attack scope. We might just look at minor attacks. but something that is both in the enterprise and the personal. Because on the enterprise, you might have a lot of other attacks. Yes, we actually do have a lot of other attacks, which I'll be looking at in later videos, in later tutorials. So look for password cracking, wireless password cracking, WPA2, WPA3. Yes, you can actually crack them, but I'll actually show you how possible it is. And so let's just go on. Now, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing on access points and LAN controllers. LAN controllers, really important. You really need to check them out. So the fourth one, will be doing a man-in-the-middle attack. And what I mean by man-in-the-middle attack, someone has access to your network and is able to be in the middle of your conversation between your gateway, which happens to be like your Wi-Fi, your hotspot, which gives you access to the internet, and your device. And imagine if someone was in the middle of that communication, the person can actually, like I told you, it's kind of, the internet is open and the person can actually be having access to your information, and it's passing through that person's device to the gateway, and from the gateway back to the person's device to your device. So you can imagine your bank transactions are passing through, your session tokens, your login details for your social platforms, they're passing through someone's device. Imagine the harm the person could actually do. So this is something I would take into consideration in a wireless pen test assessment. A man-in-the-middle attack, it's actually a must-do. Password cracking and man-in-the-middle attack, you really need to take them. Another very important thing is password policies and procedures revolving around wireless usage in the organization. How wireless devices are being used, who has access to them, password policies. That's what I'll take into number 5 here, because weak passwords, a lot of people really don't know up till today what weak passwords do. In a lot of pen tests, I've actually seen a lot of companies that just use phone numbers as passwords. Come on, who does that? Some actually just use words, only words. Wow, amazes me, because using only words, you find out that, wow, if I was a hacker, you'd be making work quite easy for me. I'll just find a way of generating passwords with only words and I'll break into it. It's just a matter of time. It will just take me time, but I definitely will break into it. So password policy is really important. A lot of policies securing wireless devices and the usage in an organization. It's really important, whether enterprise devices or personal devices, very important. So these are the things we'll be looking into. Though for today, for this course, we'll be looking at password cracking and attacks for WPA2 personal or WPA2 private use. So that brings us to the requirements. Like I told you, I want to do this course, giving back to the community. I'm doing a course where it's easy for someone with no knowledge at all, no technical knowledge at all about hacking, can actually carry out this attack. And someone who also is in the field of hacking would better understand it. So first thing we'll be looking at, I'll be using a Wi-Fi adapter with monitor mode, and I'm using the Alpha Network Wi-Fi adapter. You can see the image here. So this is what I'm using for this course. So it isn't quite expensive. You can actually get one. And a personal computer, one with an operating system, Kali or any Linux operating system will be preferable, but if you have a Windows, then you have to use a virtual machine. For this course, I'm using a Linux operating system. So if you decide to do a course in security or ethical hacking, it's just advisable you have a very good Linux background or Linux understanding, and you should have an operating system with Linux running on it. It's quite very important. And maybe in later courses, I'll explain why Linux is important to a hacker. So without much waste of time, we would have to dive in. Yes, straight to our terminal. Yes, this is what our terminal looks like. So like I told you, like I said earlier on, let me zoom in so you can see my screen better. So I believe this is good enough. So we'll be doing the attack now. On a normal basis, I could have used my normal Wi-Fi card, but just to be on the safer side, I prefer using the Wi-Fi adapter. And what we're going to do now is we're going to check for Wi-Fi access points around us. So that's what we're going to do now. So the first thing we'll do is an ifconfig. And this is my normal wireless configuration, my wireless card, WLP2S0. On Kali, it's usually WLAN 0, but here it's WLP2S0. On some other, your system might be WLP1S0, but on mine it's WLP. And down here, if you follow my cursor, this is for the wireless adapter I added in. So this is the wireless adapter, and do me a favor, just copy it because we would be using it. So by default, the wireless adapter on the alpha router is actually set to promiscuous mode, monitor mode. So what we're going to do is, instead of putting it in monitor mode, we can just check for devices around using, we'll be using a set of tools here. And the set of tools we'll be using is aircrack-ng. If you haven't installed it, you can do a sudo apt get aircrack, sudo apt install aircrack-ng there. So if you haven't, but I have it installed, so there's really no need of me installing it, but this is how you install it. You just, and it asks for your password and you get it installed. You can see mine is already newly installed, so you just, if you don't have it installed, just get it installed. So without wasting time, let's move on. I hope I copied this. Yes, now it's officially copied. So every tool you see me use here, it's gotten from the aircrack set of tools. In aircrack set of tools, you have a lot of other tools. You have your air replay, you have your aerodump, you have your airmon, you have your aircrack itself. You have a lot of tools here. So let's move on. So I'll be using aerodump. But before I do that, it's advisable you just sudo up, become super user, because this permission would give you access to do a lot of things and to manipulate your hardware. Because this is one of the functionalities. This is why Linux is actually special. It communicates directly with the kernel, because technically Linux is a kernel, not an operating system. Linux is the kernel of the operating system, so that's why it's important. It communicates directly with the hardware and without checking your permissions. So let's keep going. So I'm root now, so let's try the aerodump here. So the aerodump command helps us see devices that are close. Good. So you can see, and note of warning, a disclaimer, this video is for educational purpose, and my company and myself would not be liable for whatever you do with the knowledge you're gathering. But I'll advise you, be an ethical hacker. It's actually the best way. You earn a lot from being an ethical hacker. Trust me, I've actually been in the field for quite some time, and I only recently decided to give back to the community, which is actually a very good idea. And I'm really grateful for those people who made it possible. Thumbs up to my boss, Bruce Lucas, and thumbs up to Heath Adams, the CEO of TCM Security. That guy is really, really good. You should follow him up. Cyber Mentor on yes, TCM. So let's continue. So I'll be hacking my company's wireless access point, and it's actually Hacker SQ and Olotu Square Tech Innovation Hub. And how we do that, I've actually run the aerodump, and here on this part, the part you're seeing BSSID, whatever you're seeing under is the MAC address of each of these devices. Because this attack is kind of a layer 2 attack on your URSI model. So these are the MAC addresses for whatever you decide to attack here. The power, on the other hand, is it's kind of how close the device is. So the lower the power, it means how close it is. Like the hacker SQ is about whatever. The lower the number, just know the lower the number, the closer it is to you. So the higher the number, the further away it is from you. So you can see the beacon frames, you can see the data, and well, no more data, but 18. We can actually do something. At least something is logged on there and working. You can see the channels, and if you haven't really read about or studied about, made research about wireless networks and their communication channels, it would really be a good thing for you to do. Just take a look at it, study it, and it will give you a better understanding. You can see the MB, you can see the encryption, which is one very important thing we should take a look at. You can see WPA2 for the device I'll be attacking. You can see this one, popular, is open. You can see WPA2, CCMP, and PSK. You can see the cipher, you can see the authentication. It's actually a personal. So you see, they are all personal. So you can see the SSID, which is the device name. And down here, look here, you can see the station. Station is actually standing for devices that are connected to these devices, these access points. So you can see a lot of devices, and sometimes, yes, you can see other devices that are probing. When I mean probing, it's kind of like it's kind of what the devices do before they connect, the procedures to connect into a wireless network, or should I call it the first probe. By probing, I mean they send out a broadcast message checking for devices that are available to connect to, and a list is actually, devices start responding with their names and access points, and it pops up, actually pops up on your device, something like this. Look here, it should pop up. Yeah, it's kind of like probing, and it sends out a broadcast message, and devices respond, and it's able to put them on a list and show you devices that are available. That's one of the procedures, though I won't explain every other thing. It's advisable you actually study more about Wi-Fi devices. Like I said, this is a basic course for even beginners, people who have no knowledge on wireless pen test. So I wouldn't want to confuse them a lot or complicate things a lot. So let's continue. So Control C is what we do next. So when we do the Control C, let's pick out the device. For me, I want to pick out this device. This is the device I want to attack. So what happens is I'll copy out the BSSID of the device. But before I do that, I would like to paste the one I copied out before, the interface configuration, the wireless adapter I'm using. This is the ID of the wireless adapter, just so I don't have to copy it again. So then we copy out, this is the one I want to attack. Let me be sure. Okay, hacker SQ, that's what I'll be attacking. So I'll copy out the MAC address, just to know. And what I'll do is I'll use aerodump. And I'll specify, I want to look at only the traffic coming from that wireless access point. So I'll do a -C, which is for the channel, and I'll specify the channel 6. Like I told you, it's important. This is the channel this guy I want to attack, this device I want to attack is actually running on. So it's a channel 6, and I'll do something else. Hang on, let me copy this entire command. So you don't have to delete yours. I just want to do mine. I actually kept a place for this course. Yes. Okay, not really. I kept a README and a ROCU file, a word list file. So you can paste. Okay. So what channel 6, like I told you before, and I'm gonna set a word list. So I'm gonna set a word list, and I'll call it capture. Now what this word list is a kind of file that the password is going to save to, or the encryption details is going to save to. So that's why I just called it, you can call it whatever you want. I called mine capture, and these what I'm just going to be looking at. And I also have to, the wireless access point has to be here. It's very important, can't really emphasize it enough. Okay, so like this is good enough, and so I think we are missing out something here. Let's see, aerodom ng channel 6. So okay, like I told you, aerodom. Let's see the help page. Okay. Okay. Yes, capture. Oh, okay. Dash dash SSID. Yes. Okay. Now you can see we are only looking at that device, the device we want to attack. That's what we are looking at, and the device we want to attack is HackerSQ. So we've specified the attack by using its BSSID to only look for it on aerodom and look at the traffic going in and out of it. And from what I can see here, just one device is connected to it. And well, let's continue. One device should be enough. So the next thing we'll do, I'll divide my screen so you can see what I'll do next. Okay, so while we are actually looking at the device, let's do something more. We're going to attack the device, because we can decide to wait for the attack to take place. We can decide to wait for handshakes to come, but that's if a new device connects, and right now I don't think I'm expecting a new device to connect to it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to de-authenticate. By de-authenticate, I mean we're going to inject the authentication signals into the device's range and everything, and so that it de-authenticates. Every device will send a de-authentication message, a de-authentication signal as a broadcast to devices connected to it, telling them to disconnect. So that's what we are going to do. So we'll tell them to disconnect just for a certain period of time, and they'll have to reconnect back. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll use air replay. I told you aircrack has a lot of tools. Air replay -0 stands for de-authentication, and we'll do it we'll tell it to loop the authentication. That's why we're using 0. We are not specifying. We could specify 1 to 10 or 1 to any number, depending on how many packets we want it to send across. But I'm specifying 0, and we could specify individual people, but I want to specify everybody on the network just in case there are more people. So everybody gets de-authenticated, and so we can get the password, capture the handshake fast. Because what we want to do is capture the handshake and find a way of breaking it. So this is what we're going to do. We've done -A. So since we've done -A, we have to capture, yeah, the BSSID. Very important. Don't forget. Very, very important. And we also have to we have to specify our wireless card. Just so exactly, because we are using the Wi-Fi adapter and not a direct wireless card, so we have to specify. So we've said every PNG, we are sending a de-authentication attack with the -0, and then 0, we are looping the attack, and we are sending to all, -A, all. Just remember these parameters and you're good to go. So let's enter, and says this program requires root privilege. Okay, let's root up again. Good. So you can just copy the command if you've sudoed up, and we can paste it, and good. Running again. Okay, so you see. So meanwhile, we keep checking here. let's stop the attack. So we expect to see a Wi-Fi captured. Okay, the device has connected back. So let's hope. We expect to see a capture here. So we expect to capture the handshake here. But if it hasn't captured, let's give it a few minutes. We can deauthenticate again if it hasn't captured. Let's give it a few minutes. Yep, it should any moment from now. Okay, let's do the authentication again. So let's let it deauthenticate for some time. Oh, okay, we've captured something. Okay, that's good. Control C, and we've stopped the attack here. So what we do, you can see here we've captured the handshake. So we can stop. Control C, and then we can do an LS. Wow, we actually captured it twice. That's wonderful. So we'll now focus on cracking it. So this is actually how you hack a Wi-Fi. So there are a lot of parameters we could actually do. There are a lot of things we could actually take into consideration. We could actually crack it with something called crunch. And what crunch does is it generates a word list. And crunch is what you use when you actually have no idea what the password is. It's just that it's going to take you time, but it generates a word list. Now, but in this scenario, we are going to use a raw Q file. What I mean by raw Q file is a password list that has more than 2 million passwords that people have actually saved, but there's no certainty that we actually have the password of this device here. But with crunch, there's a possibility, yes, we are going to get it. Let me show you an example of what I mean by crunch. You can specify the numbers. You can say, okay, like the minimum for a password length is 8 and the maximum is 10. So you can specify, and you can tell crunch you want the characters you want, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and just if you press enter, you see crunch will generate the following lines. It starts generating. So let's stop it. So like this, you can see what crunch starts doing. It starts generating from the first alphabet. It keeps generating A. You see, we've actually lost track. So you see, so we'll just clear the screen and continue with our cracking. So since we captured the password twice, we'll just find a way of breaking it. So let's see how we're going to do it now. We'll use aircrack-ng, and what are we going to specify now? We'll specify, let's do a dash help. Let's see. You specify a part of the word list. That's good. Okay. That's wonderful. So let's clear a screen just to be on the safer side, and let's do aircrack. Specify a word list. I think I have a word list here. Hang on. Yes, I do have a raw keyword list, and if you want me to show you what the raw keyword list looks like, let me cut raw key so you see what it contains. Just names and passwords and different passwords and passwords, and we can stop there. So let's continue now. So we have our word list. I have a raw keyword list. You can actually search raw key on Google and download it, so it's easy to download. So now let's continue with aircrack. Let's crack this password and get going. Let's see how fast it cracks the password. Let's hope this password is actually here. Aircrack-ng. -w for the word list, and our word list is ROQ. Now the capture file, make sure you pick the one. If you decide to pick the capture1.cap or you decide to pick the capture2.cap, because it captured multiple times and we didn't actually know it had captured the first time. So, but I'll use the capture2, okay, capture1.cap or capture, whichever one. So I'll use this one. So I'll simply say capture. Let me increase this screen so you can see what I'm doing. The cap, good, and we have to specify the BSSID and the BSSID of our device. Of the device we're attacking. Oh, okay. I think we still have it here. This. Okay. So if we specify the BSS ID, and we should be good to go. So let's try. Good. So we are trying to crack now. Let's just hope we have it. It might take us time. Let's just hope we have it. There's really no saying. But basically we should have it. Okay. Okay, I actually had to pause and wait for it to find because it was gonna take time, but we've actually found the password and it's algorithm for me, and yeah, so let's give it a try. So algorithm 1. So we just have to restart our network manager to be sure everything is in order. Good. So even here, okay. The algorithm 1 we copied, and let's see how it goes. So you see we are connected on our 2 NICs to algorithm. That's how you crack a Wi-Fi password, and it's done. So on our next video we'll be looking at a man-in-the-middle attack. So basically this is the first assessment you should do, how easy it is. Imagine my password is on a ROQ file, which means whoever has a ROQ file, a computer, a Linux system, and has knowledge on how to crack passwords will literally have access to my network. So that's as bad as it is. So I think we should be stopping here, and we'll call it a day. So see you on the next video.